Okay, part 2 of chapter 21, named Daryl Pennyfield of Schooled. Daryl just found out that Hugh Winkleman was behind having Cap out on the field when he was tackled. None of us were Winkleman fans, but I couldn't believe Hugh would do anything to hurt Cap. Cap was the closest thing he had to a friend, not to mention that the wuss didn't have the guts to hurt even a fly, not unless someone else was pulling his strings. I had a haunting vision from lunch yesterday, Hugh at the corner table, deep in conversation with Zach. Those two were worst enemies, yet they had to be hunched over that table almost like they were plotting something. Zach was the captain of the Condors. He knew about the pep rally. He knew about the locker room setup and the long-time rivalry with Rhinecliff. And he had a grudge against Cap that was growing bigger every minute. I guess I must have looked like the Incredible Hulk, sickly green and bursting out of my shirt in sheer rage. My own best friend, the guy I admired so much that I had tried to be just like him. Daryl, what's wrong? Lena asked in alarm. Without answering, I raced down the hall towards Zach Locker, each stride longer than the last. How many times had I gone there to be his sidekick and his yes man to tell him what he wanted to hear? Well, he wasn't going to want to hear this. It was class change, so the corridor was crowded. I kept on moving. There was no point being a linebacker if you couldn't clear a path with your shoulder. If I doubted Zach's guilt, the expression on his face when he saw me gave it all away. He knew, I knew. You, I accused. You did that to Cap. You couldn't fight your own battles. You had to use the whole football team as your weapon? He played dumb. What are you babbling about? I didn't do anything to Cap. It was Winkleman. Haven't you heard? It's all over the school. And who put him up to it? I ranted. I know it's you. I saw you two planning in the cafeteria. You're delusional. It was classic Zach, the sneering, superior, put-down tone that he used on other people, but never on me. You're just feeling guilty because you were the one who hit him. We all hit him, I said hotly. But who got there first? You practically broke your neck doing it. No way you were going to be denied the pleasure of planting your helmet right between those numbers. The fact that he was 100% right made me even much more mad. I was so pumped with rage, I didn't notice Cap himself joining the spectators around us. Zach wasn't done yet. To be honest, I'm kind of impressed, Daryl. I never knew you could get that kind of speed out of your fat caboose of yours. And I snapped. Totally. Zach was smarter than I was, and I was never going to win this argument by using my mouth. It was time for my knuckles to take over. Honest, I didn't know Cap was there. I didn't recognize the voice that said, "Violence is not the answer." All I felt was my fist slamming into something about 18 inches closer than it's intended to receive. When the burning haze cleared from my eyes, the first person I saw was Zach, untouched and laughing at me. Sorry, I lost my spot. Down on my feet lay Cap, out cold, his nose gushing with blood like a geyser. Oh my goodness. Did you catch that? I think that's why I kind of lost. I was trying to look back. Let me just repeat something. Cap says, I didn't hear Cap's voice. Violence is not the answer. All I felt was my fist slamming into something about 18 inches closer than it's intended to receive. When the burning haze cleared from my eyes, the first person I saw was Zach, untouched and laughing at me. Down on my feet lay Cap, out cold, his nose gushing blood like a geyser. He just KO'd Cap. Not again, no, I whimpered, horror-struck. The hall just exploded in an agitated chatter. The news spread like wildfire that the 8th grade president was down again. Zach was practically hysterical. That's the second time today you decked this kid. You're building a great relationship. If you get any closer, you'll probably kill him. The reality of what I'd done overpowered even desire to shut Zach's big mouth. I hauled Cap off the floor. Help me, I bawled at the crowd. A couple of 6th graders rushed up to support Cap on the other side. We hustled him through the maze of gawkers, and I noticed he was starting to come around because he was mumbling about peace and nonviolence. His breathing blew big pink bubbles in the torrent of blood that was pouring from his nose. I was so flustered that it never even occurred to me to lie when Nurse Meyerson asked me what happened. "Were you in a fight?" she demanded. "Not with Cap. I was trying to punch someone else, but his face got in the way. It was all because of non-violence." "I can see that," she said coldly, but her attention was on Cap, so I got sent to wait for her in the principal's office. I sat there through the final period of the day, not even agonizing over what "I'll deal with you later" might mean. Whatever happened to me, I definitely had it coming. The rest of the school seemed to think so too, because I got lots of dirty looks as I stood there in full view behind the glass. The condemned man on public display, the guy who had KO'd Cap and tackled him before that. The worst part was that I liked Cap now. Sure, I'd been awful to him, but that had been back in the days when we had made him president as a joke and sent him wandering after fake press conferences and stole his shoes while he was meditating. Back when Zach had been calling the shots. What a bunch of jerks we'd been, firing spitballs at this kid just because his hippie hair made of him a big target. And in spite of everything we threw at him, Cap never fell apart or ratted us out or even got mad. For weeks it had been open season on the 8th grade president, but he hung in there. That's what first brought me around to admire the guy. I didn't care that he could drive a bus or plan a dance. Cap Anderson was quality. I didn't see that before. I saw it now. Yet now was when I'd really hurt him. I was never going to forgive myself. The bell rang, but Nurse Meyerson still hadn't appeared. The halls filled with students packing up for the day. Through the main doors, I could see a fleet of yellow buses coming up the Circle Drive, and there between the 3rd and 4th, an ambulance. No, it couldn't be, not for Cap. There was no siren. It was driving normal speed, taking a turn in the queue. Still, what would an ambulance be doing in line of the school buses? The answer rounded the corner 10 feet from me. It was Nurse Meyerson escorting a shaky, blood-spattered Cap towards the front door. The crowd parted to let him through. Outside, kids were waiting to board their buses, formed an aisle that led to the rear of the EMS unit. I didn't know how much trouble I was in. I raced out of the office and blasted through the double doors. That scene was eerie. All eyes were on Cap, but no one was saying a word, not even a peep, not even a whisper. The only sounds were idling engines and the flapping of the flag on the pole. I cupped my hands to my mouth. "Cap, I'm so sorry. It was an accident, both times." But I was too late. Nurse Meyerson helped him up into the ambulance, and the greatest 8th grade president we ever had was gone.